Due to strong language and sexual content, viewer discretion is advised. Today, on an all-new Dr. Phil, their teen daughter's a problem runaway.
She's even had a GPS ankle device that would track her every move.
But this is the home life
She says you throw her around like she's a rag doll.
she's running away from.
You beat her with a belt, drag her into your failures as a couple.
It's hard for me to believe anything she says.
It is hard for us to believe anything you people do. Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
I hate to see people suffering, and you've hurt long enough.
Stand by, Dr. Phil.
Wilson, take
I'm going to get you the help that you need.
5, 4.
This is going to be a changing day in your life.
Go, Dr. Phil.
Well, she is only 16, but has spent more time in a jail cell than in a classroom this year. She smoked cigarettes and marijuana. She brought beer to school in the 4th grade. She's stolen her parents' car not once, twice, or 3 times, but at least 15 times. She started having sex when she was 12. Her parents say, look, we have tried everything, including using one of these. This is a GPS ankle bracelet that's used for home confinement. They use it to try to keep her from running away, but they say nothing, and I mean nothing works. Now, just weeks ago, they wound up on the local news asking the public to help find their daughter. Take a look.
The parents of 15-year-old Caitlin continued to look for their missing daughter.
When I got home and she wasn't here, I was like completely shocked.
Caitlin is what her mother calls a troubled teen. She's stolen her parents' cars before, which landed her in probation and also in an ankle tracking device.
Our fear is that she may eventually find the trouble that she may not be able to get out of.
Well, as I said, this wasn't the first time she went missing. It was just the first time she made the news.
This past summer when Caitlin was 15.
Caitlin texted me and said that she was going swimming at a friend's house and that mom said it was okay.
My parents did know that the 2 boys I was with were over 18.
I had met these boys. They weren't perfect children, but neither is Caitlin. By 8 p.m., I think we realized she's not going to come home today. The next morning, still no Caitlin. 2 days passed before I called the police.
I hung out with my girlfriend and my 2 guy friends Saturday and Sunday. So I ended up breaking into a house with these people. That was fun to them. We left that night because this 35-year-old guy was supposed to give us both tattoos, which didn't happen. And he would try to get us to smoke and drink.
She had spent the night at this man's house. He's known to be a drug dealer. Well, this guy had dropped Caitlin off in her friend's neighborhood.
The girls were walking down the road. I grabbed her and I put her in the car. I just yelled in her face. 4 days, I've been completely beside myself with worry and panic, and you're just walking down the road right now like nothing ever happened.
I came home all right. I'm not dead. I should just not even worry about it.
Well, Caitlin's parents say she's been a problem child since elementary school. Take a look at this.
Caitlin runs away from home whenever she has the opportunity.
Nothing's gonna stop me from doing what I want. I've been suspended from school so many times. I can't count on my hands and toes.
Caitlin failed 6th grade once, 7th grade once, and 8th grade twice.
I recently had to drop out of GED school because I had to go to juvenile detention. Judy's like a giant daycare to me.
Caitlin has been in jail 7 times. The first time she was in jail, it was for stealing our car. Caitlin has stolen the car at least 6 to 8 times.
I've stolen the car a good 20 times.
The last time Caitlin stole the car, I just happened to wake up, and it wasn't like 10 minutes. After that, I got a phone call. And it was a local sheriff telling us that she had crashed the car into a ditch. I don't trust you, and I keep you on lockdown because anytime I've given you a little bit of trust to do something, you put yourself in danger.
Doing that's not keeping me safe. That's making me mad to where I want to leave again. How many times do I have to tell y'all that before y'all actually get it through your heads?
We have tried several things to get Caitlin to change. There's been jail, boot camp, family therapy. She's even had a GPS ankle device that would track her every move.
I've had an ankle bracelet 3 times before. I think they're stupid and useless because I had to charge it, and if I didn't charge it, it would die, and the GPS didn't work, so it was pretty much just a piece of plastic on my ankle. Last time I was missing is the first time I've taken it off.
It's a horrible feeling that I do find relief when she gets arrested because I know that I can sleep well at night knowing that she's safe.
Okay, I want to talk to you in a second, okay? But I want to talk to Caitlin first. I'm glad you're here, by the way. So, I mean, just to be sure I understand this, you've been arrested. I wrote these down. I even put together a graphic for it. You started stealing the car. November 4th, you stole the car of 2011. Then you stole it again like 6 weeks later, after spending 2 weeks in jail the first time you stole it.
Yes, sir.
So you steal the car, you go to jail for 2 weeks, you get out and steal it again.
Yes, sir.
You explain the logic to me about that, because you said something that I thought was really interesting. You said, I am mature enough to make my own decisions. I am mature enough to do what I want and don't need anyone to tell me what to do. So you steal the car, go to jail for 2 weeks, you get out and steal it again. So that's, on a maturity scale, seems pretty low.
I think I'm very mature. It's just I make stupid mistakes sometimes. Everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah. Well, you make them a lot. On June 12th, you steal the car again. You're violating probation. You're expelled from school. You do 30 days in jail this time.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then June of the next year, you steal the car, and it winds up crashed in a ditch, and you spend a week in jail.
I'm not the one that put it in the ditch, but I am the one that took it out of my parents' driveway.
So it means you're responsible for it. I don't care if aliens put it in the ditch. Okay, then on July of 13, this year, you got caught breaking and entering.
I was blamed for it, but I didn't do what they accused me of.
Okay. Did they blame you for it in June and July? Because you got arrested for it twice.
The first time I didn't do it. The second time I admitted to doing it.
Okay, why did you do it the second time?
I honestly don't know.
In somebody's house?
It was a vacant house.
Yeah. Somebody owns it.
Well, somebody owned it, but nobody had lived in it.
It wasn't you.
No, it wasn't me.
You didn't have the right to be there.
No.
This is on your maturity list, I guess. So you've stolen the car 1, 2, 3, 4 times, been to jail 1, 2, 3, 4 times for that, breaking and entering twice, been to jail for that. And then in October of this year, just a little while ago, you spent 3 weeks in jail for probation violation.
Yes, sir.
If you were my life manager, I'd fire you. If you were making my decisions for me and I kept winding up in jail and in jail and in jail, I would think you weren't doing a very good job.
I'm not the only person that's ever made a bad decision.
So what's the end game? What are you gaining by all of this? You've stolen the car 4 times, you've breaking into people's houses. What are you doing in that house?
I don't really, there was no point to it at all. We just did it to do it.
How long were you in that house?
Like 3 days, maybe.
So you just moved in?
Yeah.
So 3 days in the house and 3 weeks in jail?
Yep.
Well, coming up, we're going to find out why Caitlin says she's surprised she hasn't gotten pregnant yet. And boy, oh boy, do I have some questions for these parents. We'll be right back.
One time I've gotten so drunk that I've had sex with 3 boys. I was told that had happened, but I don't remember any of it.
I do think it's hard to control a teenage girl when it comes to sex and boys. We gave Caitlin an iPhone for her 13th birthday, and I would say it was less than a month before I took it away from her completely. There were pictures on her phone of her completely naked, taking pictures of herself in the bathtub, in front of the bathroom mirror. Through Caitlin's text messages, I realized that she was definitely having sex.
Well, at only 16 years old, Caitlin has been arrested 7 times, put in jail, dropped out of school, experimented with drugs, and gotten drunk. And if that's not scary enough, Caitlin admits to having an active and, in my opinion, extremely dangerous sex life.
I was 12 when I first had sex. I think I slept with about 17 or 18 people.
I was relieved that she wasn't pregnant.
Honestly, don't think I could get pregnant because of how many times I've had scares like that and never ended up pregnant. Sex isn't really that big of a deal. When I was 15, the oldest guy I've slept with was 25. I was high on Roxy's when it happened. There was one time it was me and one of my guy friends and another one of his friends. I ended up sleeping with both guys. Then there was one time I've gotten so drunk that I've had sex with 3 boys. I was told that that had happened, but I don't remember any of it.
I do think it's hard to control a teenage girl when it comes to sex and boys.
Okay, you meet some of these guys online, right?
Yes, sir.
And they're between 18 and 25, generally speaking.
Yeah, they are.
And you don't take precautions. You don't use condoms. You're not on birth control. You don't.
I don't know. Like
I was asking.
No, yeah, I do. I mean, it's not like I've never used a condom before. That I'm so angry right now.
Well, I don't think it's something you should be doing at 16 at all, but it doesn't bother you that you've been to jail 7 times, kicked out of school, haven't completed the 8th grade. You admit that you've used Xanax, meth, Roxy's, legal marijuana, you say. Some guy gave you a hallucinogenic. You said, yeah, why not? That's all okay?
No, but I mean, it's not like, oh my God, like, it's not like I'm the only person that's ever done this. I'm not a bad person. I experimented with drugs. Big deal. It's not like it's not like it's the worst thing that somebody could ever possibly do.
But you're saying you haven't done anything terrible.
Yeah, I've done things terrible, but like that doesn't make me a terrible person.
Who said you were a terrible person?
Kind of obvious that that's what y'all are trying to make me look. I'm pretty sure everybody thinks I'm a terrible person right now.
Well, you say that you are mature enough to do what I want to do. I don't need anybody telling me what to do. I can come and go as I please. I never think about how I'm affecting my family or telling them where I'm going. I just feel that I am free and can do what I want and what makes me happy. I don't care about the effect. I want to get to know you. Is that you? Did I read that right?
Yeah, you read that right. I mean, I don't like people telling me what to do. I can make good decisions. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, but nobody's perfect. Mm-hmm. I think that if I were to be put on my own, I wouldn't have such a terrible problem with that. I mean, I just don't feel like I need as much, I just don't think I need to be told what to do 24/7.
How do you feel about your mother?
She's overreactive about everything. And when I say everything, she's overreactive about everything.
Everything?
Yeah.
Like if you come in 5 minutes late, she freaks?
Yeah, they both freak out about stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So who are you? What are you doing that's run this off in the ditch so bad?
I have completely, apparently failed.
Do you yell at her?
I do yell at her.
Scream at her?
I do scream at her.
Have you slapped her?
I have slapped her.
She says you grab her by the arm and slap her around and throw her around like she's a rag doll.
Yes, that has happened.
What do you think about that?
It's horrible. I'm absolutely 100% in the wrong.
Why do you do it?
I get so angry and I try to use words and those don't work, so my next instinct is physical aggression.
How do you feel when she's slapping you around?
Like I'm no good, like I'm like the dirt under her feet, like she's just, like I'm just nothing. Like she just slaps me around and thinks I owe nothing of it, just like whatever.
How do you feel while you're slapping her around?
In the moment, anger. Afterwards, always regret. But it's still, even though I sit there and tell myself, this is not okay, why do you keep doing this? When it gets to that point again, it's the same thing. It's like a never-ending circle.
So you just do it over and over?
Yes.
I made a list of y'all's parenting so far, because you wanted some analysis of this. I made her a list, I made you a list. You allow smoking
I do.
In the house. You're physically abusive.
Yes.
Yes.
You're physically abusive?
I have been.
Yeah. How so?
Whipping her with a belt
Till she's bruised?
till I bruise her legs.
You're verbally abusive, both of you.
Yes.
Yes.
You won't provide birth control because you say, A, it's expensive, and B, it's like giving her permission.
Yes.
You make empty threats. You do this, I'll do this, but then you don't follow through.
Yes.
Right? When you two are having trouble, you blame her.
I have blamed her.
You've basically given up on school, right? You just allowed her to drop out.
I did not allow her to drop out. That was forced upon us by the school.
You've got a 6-year-old
I do.
that's very unruly.
Yes.
You two are divided in your parenting. You're often on opposite sides of what to do.
A lot
Yes.
of the time we are.
Yeah, okay. You sometimes just hide in the bedroom.
I do that a lot. Yes.
You're inconsistent with your parenting. She says you never had the sex talk or dialogue with her in any kind of responsible, mature way. At this point, you talk about going in the bedroom, you just basically given up, right?
I have.
Her behavior is not good, and yours is no better,
No.
It's true.
right?
It's true, yeah.
That's why this whole situation's about a whole lot more than just her. Let's take a break. When we come back, I'm going to talk about why I think Caitlin is doing some of the things she's doing. You can guess where that's going. We'll be right back.
Just last year, my husband had an affair with a family member's girlfriend. Looking back on it now, maybe that's when she did start acting out again.
My mother's called me a bitch, a whore. She's called me a slut a couple of times. She's either yelling at me or she pretty much ignores me.
It is easy to ignore Caitlin since she's always in her room and she doesn't really want to spend time with me.
I wish she would sit down with me and talk to me more instead of yelling and screaming and throwing things.
I feel really bad. And just sitting here talking about everything, it's like, God, how did I think that any of this was okay?
My guests today say they are at a loss about what to do with their 16-year-old teenager who has been arrested 7 times in the past 2 years. Brandy says she's not sure why Caitlin misbehaves, but I think I know at least one reason. Take a look.
Just last year, my husband had an affair with a family member's girlfriend.
There's been a lot of tension in the relationship since the affair. She has not handled it very well.
Oh my God, I don't think I've ever felt anything so horrible in my life. It's been very hard to focus on anything, my kids, my job, anything, because it just really, the thoughts never leave.
I found out about the affair because my mom told me.
I did tell Caitlin and my older son, because there's no way they would have understood why I was so upset, why their dad was leaving, and why are you laying in bed for 4 days? Caitlin was supportive. She reassured me that it wasn't my fault.
My mom has blamed me. She has told me, Caitlin, you are a giant reason why me and your dad are getting a divorce.
After I found out that Graham had cheated on me, I was a complete mess. Looking back on it now, maybe that's when she did start acting out again.
So what do you think about that as you watch yourself, and this is all kind of coming into focus, isn't it?
I can't go back in time now, so now I need to know what to do going forward. To not scar her for life for the things and the decisions that I've made as a parent. Oh, man.
So what do you think about all of this?
You'd think all that you would get used to after a while, but it really doesn't. It's just really hard to deal with, and they don't really understand. Like, they're not the only ones that have to go through it. Everybody in the family has to. I don't think they realize how much it affects everybody, not just them.
At 16, you should be having fun. Man, you should be laughing. You should be running with friends, cutting up, having a good time. That's your job. That's one of your jobs. I want you to do that. I want you to do that. What do you think when you hear me say that to you?
It's not gonna happen.
Why?
Because I'm either in jail or I'm home or at school. When I get home, I'll be able to stay on the phone for maybe like an hour max. I can't leave ever. Most of the time, nobody's allowed to come to my house. How am I supposed to have fun with friends and go play and have fun and laugh and all that when I'm stuck in my house all day?
But if we worked really hard to change that, are you willing to work really hard to change your part of it?
Yes, I would do anything I had to do. I just want my life back.
And you deserve to have it back. So you're confused right now because all of a sudden it seems like I'm on your side. And I am on your side. Do you get that?
Yes, sir.
I don't like your behavior. That needs to change. But I like you a lot. And I think you are a beautiful, intelligent young woman. And I think you can just star in your own life. I think you can star in your own life. I want you to get to the point where you value yourself enough where you won't do some of the things you're doing because you are being reckless because you look at it and say, what the hell? Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm miserable otherwise. And so you get reckless. And you make yourself at risk. You want your life back, right?
More than anything in the world.
What do you think about what you're hearing your daughter say?
I've heard her say it before.
Wow, this is going to be so much harder than I was hoping.
It's hard for me to believe anything she says.
It is hard for us
Believe anything I'm saying.
to believe anything you people do. Were you raised by wolves? Are you kidding me? Go ahead.
It's hard for me to believe anything she says.
It is hard for us
To believe anything I'm saying.
to believe anything you people do. Were you raised by wolves? Are you kidding me? You take a 16-year-old girl, beat her with a belt, grab her and slap her around, drag her into your failures as a couple, and then criticize her because she runs away. This girl isn't even really defiant. She's just surviving your craziness. If it's just her, I mean, her little brother's 6. He's been kicked out of school twice.
He also has ADHD. Wow. Look, I'm very well aware of things that I've made mistakes with.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not. Or you'd be listening instead of talking right now. You may actually know some of the things you've done wrong, but you don't know what to put in its place at this point, right?
That's true.
Because you can't trust her because she's proven she's not trustworthy.
True.
You give her a little rope, hell, she's gone. I mean, you've worked yourself into a spot where you're between a rock and a hard place. This can not only change, it can change dramatically in a short period of time. You two gonna stay married or get a divorce? Don't know?
No.
Yeah.
I want to stay together. I want to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. Before all this, he was supposed to move out this weekend.
Yeah. You know, this has nothing to do with you, right?
I don't know.
No, I'm telling you, it has nothing to do with you.
Okay.
They've got problems you can't even spell. And it's not your fault. It's not in reaction to you, and you're like a leaky pipe in the other room as far as their marital disharmony is concerned. I don't know whether you're going to stay together or whether you're not. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. That's a whole other issue. Whether you do or you don't, you have a daughter, and you owe her a shot. You owe her getting it together and doing something right here. If I get you some very focused, specific help, will you take it?
Yes.
And you may not look forward to this, but I want you to have somebody to talk to, not your mother, about what's going on in your life and try to make some plans and goals to get you back on. Listen, you don't have a mental illness here. You're not some really screwed up kid. You're just making some bad choices, and we're going to help you see your way clear to making some better choices. If I arrange that, not with her, just with you, would you like that?
No, yeah, I would.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do that. That's just our gift to you, okay?
Yes, sir.
To help you work through this. And the same way with you guys. There's a lot of work to do here, but you start by acknowledging you ran this off in the ditch. You need to get it out of the ditch. Okay?
Okay.
All right, we're going to stop here. There's much more to do. We're going to let it happen, and then we'll check in with these people and see where things are. Next, a young woman and her brother, both lucky to be here today. They were both shot in the head, execution style, and live to talk about it. We'll hear their story when we come back.
This is the first room they entered, and this is where Alex was sleeping.
My bedroom door got kicked open. All I see is a masked man holding a pistol in his hand with a t-shirt around it.
When I got up, he pistol whipped me in the back of the head, put the gun in my back, and walked me out.
And then one individual walked by and says, well, it looks like one of y'all is gonna die tonight.
My next guest says back in May 2012, 2 men with guns barged into her home and forced her, along with 3 others, to lay face down on the floor at gunpoint while the men stole all their electronics. Luckily, one of the cell phones had a tracking device, and police were able to quickly find and arrest the men shortly after. However, months later, and the night before the victims were due to testify in court about the robbery, something unimaginable happened.
The same home broken into twice.
It's pretty scary. We want to know what's going on.
This time, shots are fired.
The first thing that I heard that morning was loud banging. It sounded to me as if somebody was being pushed into a wall.
This is the first room they entered, and this is where Alex was sleeping at the time. One of the other guys who had the AK-47 dragged him out.
My bedroom door got kicked open. All I see is a masked man holding a pistol in his hand with a t-shirt around it. He said, shut the up, and dragged me to the living room.
I didn't have time to think. He pulled me out of bed. I reacted. When I got up, he pistol whipped me in the back of the head and grabbed me by the back of the neck, put the gun in my back, and walked me out.
They have him with his arm twisted behind his back with a gun against his head. Then they placed him down on the floor as well. While they were telling us that they were gonna pop off if we didn't cooperate, Alex reached out his hand to me and said, I love you. And I just said, I'm sorry afterwards. Can I get a minute? And they were asking us questions about if this is the same house that got robbed. And then one individual walked by and says, well, it looks like one of y'all is gonna die tonight. And then I hear a bang, the ringing in my ear, and I feel a heavy amount of pressure on the side of my skull. I was scared, and that's when it kind of came in my head, like, Brianna, you need to play dead or you're gonna die.
He took one shot at her, point blank, right in her head. Her bullet traveled through her skull and exited. My son Alex was facing this way, and then they shot him. They went back again and shot him another time, twice, just to make sure he was dead.
I was still in shock over Alex's breathing stopping, and I had my head turned to the left facing him, looking at him, and then I was shot.
In shock that they survived, Brianna and her brother then tried to escape.
I don't think I'm dying. My heart's just going nuts. The ringing in my ear stopped. Dead silence. So I popped my head up, and my sister looked up at me and said, did they miss you too?
And then she got him up. I mean, the blood splatter was everywhere. It was just slipping everywhere. Blood was on the walls here because he tried to exit it. They couldn't. And of course, they had to leave Alex behind. They felt guilty about that, but they just, you know, what was going to happen next? But I'll tell you what was going to happen next. They exited through this door.
I ran through the backyard, got Remington, because he was woozy and losing so much blood. It was hard for him to keep stable while walking.
I was just following Brianna. My body wasn't cooperating with me, so I was following her. And we just went to the back fence and hopped and went to the house behind it.
Remington banged on the door. He was in the front of me, and that's when we saw the wife of the neighbor.
I asked for a towel. We asked for a phone.
Ma'am, this is the police department. Okay, and there's somebody else there that shot?
Yes, we didn't see him move, so I'm pretty sure he got a clean shot in the head and he's dead.
Killed my son. They shot him like a dog. All three of them. Cowards. I wish they would let him out of prison, because then he would have to deal with me. And I have nothing to lose. Nothing.
Well, I'm glad to meet you. I'm sorry for the circumstance on one hand, but on the other, it's astounding that we're here. It's astounding that you're here. So I'm glad to talk about this. And let me say, I'm so sorry for your loss. I can't even imagine what that feels like. You're very upset, Dad, about the system here and what took place to put them in harm's way, true?
Absolutely. Orange County, the state of Florida, more or less failed my son. Best Ben Okafor was on home confinement, wearing one of the ankle monitors at the time. But during the period between June and September 10th, he broke confinement 109 times.
And what were the consequences of him breaking home confinement?
The execution of my son.
What do you remember about that night, the night of the shooting?
I remember everything.
You remember the details about it?
Waking up, hearing the noises, being pulled into the living room, and the first thing I see is Alex face down. He was the first one placed in the living room. And that's when I knew, okay, we're getting robbed again.
At what point did you realize this was no robbery?
I got shot in the head.
Did you realize that she had been shot?
Oh, yeah. I was sitting next to Alex, laying on the ground. The first shot went off, and that's when Alex started breathing real heavy. Then, you know, the realization that I possibly lost my sister set in. And then while I'm still thinking about that, the second shot goes off, and that's when Alex's breathing stopped. Then my head is cocked like to the side looking at him, and that's when I get hit. And it feels like somebody just took a brick or something or jumped on top of my head, and it rocked my eyes back and forth, ringing in my ear. I thought I was blind because the blood was covering my eyes.
So you were hit where?
Right in the back of the head.
So this was an execution?
Yes.
I mean, it was just a horrible execution.
And that's when I realized they intentionally doing this. And I played dead.
How has this affected you since?
I don't sleep. I have a dog and a gun.
You sleep with a loaded shotgun?
Yes.
The biggest reason Alex's father says that this never should have happened, never should have been an option. We'll be right back.
My son, Alex, he was an angel. He was funny. He was educated. He spoke 3 languages. And I love my son more than I fear death itself. And this is all I can do, to speak on his behalf, because he's not here. He's not here. He's gone.
Well, Raphael's son, Alex, was brutally murdered a little over a year ago. So this has not been that long. It is very raw for all 3 of these very nice people. He feels there are several reasons this should never have happened. So also joining us is attorney Jose Baez, who is representing Brianna along with her brother Remy and Alex's father, Raphael. Jose, it's good to see you again. You've been on before, and you are expert on this Florida system down there. What happened here? How did this fall through the cracks?
It's a breakdown on every level. It began with how law enforcement handled it, to the prosecutors who failed to have them testify at a bond hearing. If a judge had heard from these 2 victims the same way all of you have, he probably wouldn't have been granted bond at all. After that, there were numerous incidents of intimidation and attempted witness tampering, which Brianna had reported to the police, and the police failed to notify the state attorney's office that they were attempting to buy off their testimony so they wouldn't testify. In addition to that, there was no victim witness coordinator to inform them of what was going on in the case and to even inform him that the defendants were free.
Well, they had been arrested and put in jail, correct?
Correct.
But then made bond?
Correct, for which they were not notified.
And they had no notification that they'd let the people out?
Nor notification to come to court to testify.
What needs to change, Raphael?
I believe that whole GPS system this is not a local problem in Orlando or in the state. Is a national epidemic. Alex is not the first person to die under these circumstances. He just happens to be one of them. So I did not want Alex to be just a number or a statistic or for him to be collateral damage. I wanted him to remember, people to remember what he died for. He died for us. He wanted to testify, just like these kids. But it definitely needs to get revamped. GPS monitoring is not for convicted felons. It's for low-level offenders.
We're actually investigating the entire system across the country to ensure and to try and prevent something like this from ever happening again. And we're going to do it in Alex's name.
The homicide trial hasn't come up yet. The accused have pled not guilty. They say didn't do it. Wasn't them, weren't there. That trial will be upcoming. I said I had a few things to say to Remy and his sister, as well as Raphael. I'm going to do that right after the break. Jose Baez is here with his clients, Raphael, Remy, and Brianna. Let me start with you. Are you seeing anyone professionally? Are you getting any help with this in any way?
I don't feel comfortable.
Remy?
No.
How about you?
I work for my son 24/7. That's how I cope with his execution.
Let me say to all of you, especially you two, in order for me to do a proper diagnosis, I would need to spend several hours with you. We would go through a number of things. But I can tell you that on the short list of my considerations for diagnostic terms here would be a number of things, but high on that list would be PTSD. You can't go through something like this where you're dragged out of bed, marched into a room, and shot in the head execution style, and just move on. There are very effective evidence-based therapies for this type thing, and you must give us the privilege of arranging for you to have that type of intervention and treatment. Will you let me do that?
Yes.
Fair enough. Can I help you with this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And they need this, right?
Absolutely.
And I hope you give yourself time to grieve and not just be a warrior for Alex, but to do that as well. And we want to help every way that we can. We'll do that. I want to thank all of my guests today. A special thanks to Jose Baez. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.